this whole experiment may need to be over because I can't go any deeper in the hole. There's almost, like, the hole gets slightly deeper with the interest payments every month, but, you know, I can't, there isn't much deeper that I can go. Well, I'm just tidying up the bed. Dog hair and dog debris always, and I've got dog towels on the floor because of the heavy rains from yesterday. And actually, when it started raining last evening, I thought it's going to be a nice night listening to the rain. However, something has changed, which is quite probably significant. If it's not significant, I mean, any mishap is significant, but it might be the game changer that ends this whole experiment. So basically, we are just camped outside a friend's place, and that's awesome. And it is, otherwise, I can tell it's a beautiful morning. Seeing the sunrise, kind of silhouetting big West Coast pines or whatever other kind of tree they might be, and having the sunlight, you know, lighting up the raindrops. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, but I have a cloud, and that is because yesterday when I went to start the RV, it stalled on me twice, and it had never done that. And then I noticed a gas leak. So there's gasoline leaking now. And it was enough that, you know, there was quite the rainbow on the pavement. So I am just waiting for it to be 8 o'clock so that I can call a mechanic that my daughter has recommended and, you know, see even what to do. Like, I don't know if I should be towing it. I don't know if it's safe to drive for a short distance. I'll get that opinion this morning. And then probably with my luck, I'll get called into work and then have to make a tough choice. Because if you're available and they call you in and you say no, it counts against you, and you can only get 4 declines per 6 months. And not like I want to decline, but I think it would be like 3 buses to get there from here. I don't even know. Probably take like an hour and a half, but you know, and that's okay. I can deal with that. Just, can I deal with that and try and find out about this gas leak all at the same time? So, and the thing is, I have a paycheck coming on Friday. It might be about $500 or so, but that's my last paycheck, you know, from the deli, and the hours haven't picked up, you know, enough yet in the other 2 jobs to compensate for that. So I may not be able to fix what's wrong. So that may mean I'm camping here at my friend's house, and thank goodness that I have a friend whose property I can stay on. That's amazing. But this whole experiment may need to be over because I can't go any deeper in the hole. There's almost, like, the hole gets slightly deeper with the interest payments every month, but, you know, I can't, there isn't much deeper that I can go. I don't have credit to use to fix whatever it is that's going on. So I'm praying that it's minor and that a few $100 can take it, and then, sure, I'll camp here. I have plenty of food. You know, so it'll be okay, but I may be making plans to go back to the off-grid cabin, to the property. At least it's, you know, spring, and maybe I can get a minimum wage job close to my property, you know, and who knows, maybe you'll be seeing videos from me next year like, here's how I lived through minus 20 in the 8x12 cabin that's not well insulated, nor has any other, you know, things. But it'll be interesting. But, you know, I have to trust that there's something, you know, intended for me. I have to trust that. What choice do I have? It's just definitely not working out, and this is real. This is real, up to the minute, RV life, low income, real deal. Yeah, so I'm bummed, but the sunlight does look so beautiful. Even on the raindrops on the window. I'll have to show you that. Like, you know. Oh boy. I should have put more money aside in some kind of slush fund, I guess, when I had still a little bit of money. I should have come out here, got myself a new career sooner. You know, so, I mean, when I was young, like, you know, 20s, I used to just like, oh, you know, I'll hop on a bus, I think I'll go there, you know, and I hopped on the bus and I went to Jasper, Alberta, and, you know, that's a whole other story. I thought I had a job, so great. I went to the coast, visited my friends, got on a bus back to Jasper. I only had $50 left in my pocket. 50. But the job was at like a accommodation backpackers hostel. So accommodation was built into the job. So I thought, I don't really need to make sure that I have a ton of money when I go back, because I'm going to start getting paid and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, silly old me, I'm always so, like, oh, everything will be fine. Trust in the universe, man. Whoa. Anyway, that did not work out, because I did not put out. I guess there was a very, very horny district manager, and he said, yeah, we just have some final arrangements to make. Called me over. He says, I'll make dinner. Like, so he had a cabin on the same property, and he's like, yeah, just come on over, I'll go over everything with you before you start, and I'll feed you dinner. And I was like, okay, great, you know. So I walked up the mountain. No, sorry, he picked me up. So it was like out of town and up the mountain. And I am not referring to Moline Canyon, just so you know. That is a wonderful, wonderful place. Nothing but good things to say about there. So this did not happen there. Anyway, so up this mountain, literally, where you can see all around. And beautiful place. I was going to work there, and I was so thrilled to work there. Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and, you know, he's talking about managers, and because I was going to be the hostel manager. You know, check in the guests, you know, deal with everything, do the cleaning, talk about the local attractions, everything. And the next thing you know, he's clicked the TV and there's porn. And, you know, and I'm like 21. I'm 21, right? I'm like, and this was the early 90s. Like, there was no internet. Like, I hadn't seen that. Okay? I didn't know. I was like, I don't want to see that. I think that's exactly what I said. And he was like, well, I want to have sex. And I said, well, I don't. And he kicked me out. He told me to leave. So I left. It was nighttime. It was dark. It was like, I think it was about -10, I want to say, about -10, because this is Alberta, right? It's Alberta in November. So I'm walking then down this mountain, and I was okay with that. Like, I felt safe. I was a lot safer than in the cabin. So I walked back to town, and, you know, knocked on a friend's door, you know, where I was staying, and hello. So that's how that job opportunity ended. But the thing was, I pounded the pavement for the next 3 days, walked around town, and I had myself a job, and most of the jobs there came with accommodation, so, and everything was fine, and everything worked out fine, and I had a great 1.5 years living there. And so silly me, like, it's like I've been in this bubble. Times have changed, girlfriend. For you, for one thing, I'm not a spring of the chicken. The springing of the chicken is no longer springing, and I'm not springful. I'm more around like midsummer, treading towards fall. You know, the leaves are starting to turn. The odd one has like withered and fallen down. Anyway, so that's me now. But I still have this freaking attitude, like, oh, everything will be fine. I'll just go there, and, you know, the job, because, and here I thought I was being super responsible to even, like, have a phone interview and have a, essentially, 99% lockdown. No digging. No. You know, I thought I was being super responsible to have, you know, had a job. Thanks for the mud on my shoulder, boo-boo. Thank you, you silly boof. Anyway, just things have not panned out. And again, this is not a pity party. I'm just kind of trying to figure it out here of like, where did I go wrong? You know, in just having sort of blind faith that, you know, if I showed up and I worked hard and was willing to work, and that everything would be okay. But anyway, it's not. That's the point I'm making, is things are not okay. Okay, you silly boo-boos. Gotta get the silly boo-boos inside. So who knows? And I'm not, you know, looking for rescue from anyone out there. That's not why I'm making this video. You know, like, it's just, it's how it is. It's a dose of reality. And you know what? I'm actually going to quote my Auntie Norma. who's been, in the hospital, after 5 months, and she calls it, this is the phase of life called hospital life. And she got out of the hospital finally, because she said, I'm going to take that government offered program, the MAID, if my life is just to be, not going to improve and I don't get to go home and I'm just going to be basically in a hospital bed. She said, I'm going to go for the MAID, which is medical assistance in dying, which they have in Canada now. And I guess 50, 60,000 people a year are doing it. People that are broke and people that are depressed now are trying to get on the list, and apparently some of them are succeeding. I don't know, I haven't fact checked that fully, but so anyway, Auntie Norma gets to go home, and she goes home. 2 days later, she falls and breaks her arm, and she's in freaking horrible pain. It's like right below the shoulder. They can't operate because of her age and her health condition. So she was in the middle of like a pain flare-up, and they were changing her medication, so her pain was not well controlled, which was just brutal. I don't think anyone should have to go through that. Just give them the medication to keep them comfortable, especially when they're 95. They're 95. They've already declared that they'd rather be comfortable than be 100% certain that their vital signs are safe. Okay? So anyway, the woman is suffering terribly, and I'm there feeling helpless and, trying to talk to the nurses. And anyway, she was saying, this life is so cruel. It's beautiful. It's cruel. It's beautiful. It's cruel. And she just kept repeating that over and over again. And it's like, yeah, it is cruel. Or it can be. But it's beautiful. And who knows, maybe that's one of the last lessons I'll be able to learn from Auntie Norma, because it looks like I won't be able to stay. I don't have the gas money to get up there to visit her. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's not a good time to be leaving with her being in the hospital. But I can't live. Like, I suppose I could buy a tent and join the other folks. But I don't do drugs, and I'm just not into that. I don't feel willing to let myself go to that level of desperation, that I'm living in a tent in downtown Victoria. That's just not going to be my style. So instead, I'll be, borrowing some money from a friend to get back to Ontario, back to my property. These girls are being such a pain in the butt right now. At least I have a property. It's not worth much. Like, I bought it for $10K. so, and it's, it had a ton of junk on it, which it still does. I think like a building may have burnt down. So there's even like a lot of glass. I don't know if you followed any of those videos, but there's glass. So even if I go back with these girls, I'm going to have to really be careful. But voila, here it is. All the complexities going through my mind as I'm waiting for the mechanic shop to open this morning. You silly boo-boos. Yes. You're very silly. Okay. I'm gonna have a coffee. See that steam? Ooh. Anyway, it's about 7:30 now. And a half an hour from now, I am going to make a call. And whatever I'm told on the other end of that call may be shaping my, near immediate future and changing my direction. I mean, some people would consider it, you know, irresponsible to have embarked on this journey without like maybe a huge backup fund. And in my mind, minimum 10 grand is probably what you should have. But, you know, I was working for a minimum in Toronto, and over a course of a year, I'd accumulated credit card debt because it just wasn't enough to pay everything. You know what? Honestly, if I went back to my property and I just stayed put, I didn't go anywhere other than to work, then maybe slowly I'll get out of this. Maybe minimum will be enough to get by and slowly chip away at the debt. Could take a long time, but I know how to live cheap, you know. And in fact, you know how that Dylan individual documented the days of 365 days, you know, maybe I should document the days of living in a Thoreau-like scenario in order to like simplify, and that would be life at its lowest terms for sure. When he talks, like Thoreau talked about simplifying, he wanted to reduce life to its lowest terms, and if it proved to be wonderful, or if it proved to be mean, either way, to know it by first-hand full experience, right? Maybe, and thank you so much for your comment on, you know, that maybe this vlogging video, you know, vlogging, do people use that term? Maybe that is my purpose. Vlogging about life. It's so funny. I saw a woman on the bus once about 20 years ago, and it was like a book, and the title was like, How to Live Your Life. And I thought, like, how amazing is that, you know, that we human beings, our minds and our imaginations must be so vast that, you know, we can't figure out how to wake up and live our lives. We need to read a book. Whereas, like, my dogs do not, for the most part, from what I can tell, have any existential crisis. Sadie is sometimes a little moody, so, you know, maybe she does, I don't know, but it doesn't seem so. I mean, all I have to do is touch this thing here that I won't rattle, because then they're just gonna be so happy. We're going outside! We're going outside! Hey everybody, we're going outside! They don't care if it's cold out. They don't care. They've never seen snow. They're like, what? Okay. You know, so I just think we human beings were just so wonderfully odd. You know, and how we're built, I guess. Anyway, I think my biggest sadness right now is feeling like that I'm going to be letting people down, like my employers, right? Especially the new one. Although she's a really, really nice lady, and tough as nails too, eh? So I think when I just, you know, she'll understand. Yeah, and yep, she will understand. And my other workplace, the liquor store, some of them will understand, but there's probably the one or two that really don't understand why I'm living this lifestyle. But I mean, all they have to do is like look at the bank balance and, you know, there's your answer, right? I mean, like what I mean, this boondocking in a city. This is not, I love the tiny living. I love the RV. But ideally, I would park somewhere where I'm allowed to be and pay whatever the fees are, you know, and there would be their laundry and there would be a water hookup that I could get some water and, you know, if I'm doing this whole going to work for a paycheck, then ideally speaking, I would be able to afford a place to park. So that's, it's not the RV lifestyle that I'm saying, you know. But yeah, when you can't afford that, it's interesting. And I see this whole, you know, world that I'm starting to notice of how many people are doing this. And I'm so curious, and I really wished I could, you know, document some of their experiences. I've met a few of them now, van lifers and, you know, guys driving these old RVs that are held together with red duct tape, you know, so, you know, that it barely starts and then a big huge puff of, you know, smoke comes out of the exhaust when they start, and like, I'm curious about everyone's story. Like, how did they arrive at this moment, you know? I mean, my life story, it's like just what I told you about my experience of showing up back to Jasper with $50 and to seal the deal, the final paperwork involved no paperwork. So everyone's had a journey, right? And yeah, like this taking a risk. What is it in me that thought, you know, like the safe thing would have been to just stay in Toronto and keep going into more debt and hopefully hope that something would eventually change. Which reminds me of something my daughter said when she was like 18, okay? So, because my daughter changed her life at 16. She went from, you know, sleeping in and missing school and almost getting kicked out of arts. She was in a special arts program that you had to apply for, and she almost got kicked out. She went from that to making a decision, which she didn't tell me about. The thing is, I heard some noise at 6:30 in the morning when school started in January, and I was like, what the is going on? And it was her in the friggin' shower at 6:30 in the morning. And she was in that shower at 6:30 in the morning every day for the rest of high school. And she was early to everything. And her assignments were early. And she reflected back and she said, Mom, I was so depressed. And she said, but it was a decision. I decided I didn't want my life to be like that. And she said, it was not easy, but it was incredibly simple. She said, I just simply decided. Decision means to break away from. I looked up the meaning once. Anyway, and what she reflected back a couple years later was, she said, people think that things will change. People think that, you know, if you let some time pass, that things will change. what people don't realize is that if you don't change, things won't change. I mean, things might change slightly if you do nothing and time just passes, but is it going to be a change that you want? I mean, yeah, I've changed. I'm a little older. I got a little more, lines. My knees are a little more sore. So that's a change. But is it one you want? And I'm like, how the hell, or, how the heck does a young person like this know all of this? Like, she's amazing. She's way smarter than she's way smarter, let's just put it that way, at a way younger age. And I think maybe the young people are getting smarter. Of course, there's probably a lot of evidence of people that aren't, but I just didn't know anyone as smart as my daughter, and I was fortunate to have met some extremely bright people with sort of challenging upbringings when I was young, and I benefited from that. I think it saved my life, really, like starting to unpack the whole, we were like Gen Xers, at least this part of Gen X, the group I was in, it was like, we're starting to actually look at, examine, and unpack. How the hell did we grow up? What happened? What was it? Why am I like this? Oh my God. Yeah, so maybe that's my purpose. Maybe my purpose is going to be to vlog the life of somebody doing their best to get their shit together, living, simple life at its practical lowest terms on a property that is off the grid, where, maybe that's going to end up being my purpose. Maybe my purpose is to share that experience. Or all the other experiences that have left me with a thought. Just like how my daughter shared those thoughts about how she changed and how she experienced that change, It was inspiring to me to hear that from her. She said it was simple, but not easy. And she said it like that. It was not easy. Gosh, maybe we need to talk to more people like that. And I think that's one reason that I've been so inspired by Auntie Norma is, man, she's been through some brutal challenges, man. And yet, to still, as soon as she's starting to recover from the acute phase of her most recent illnesses of being 95, and her health is failing. But the minute she is beginning to recover from the latest, acute, challenge, she has joy. She still has joy. And even when she was in that excruciating pain, she still said, life's beautiful. And what kind of wherewithal has she got that she's been through 95 years of all this? And still in the middle of being in so much pain, that she's unable to forget that the beauty. And I think it's that quality, really. That's the quality. That it's that spark. And I've seen people give up and go into their basement apartment, and living around beer empties as young as 30, early 30s. you know, and again, yeah, depression, alcoholism, insomnia, various other things. But, you know, the spark was gone, and it was become existence. And then some people, it's been their 40s, some people it's their 50s, some it's their 60s. I know a lot of people from across. And then some people never had the spark. And I've been trying to understand, you know, what is it, Auntie Norma? How did you do it? I am going to try to get a visit in with her before I go. I'm going to intend it. I'm going to make it happen. So, I want to get another word from her on this topic and ask her maybe if she will appear. What an amazing woman. Yeah. She worked in the justice system. You ever saw that show Mad Men? Where they're smoking the cigars and they're drinking, you know, on the job, and they're chasing the secretary. That happened to her. My mom and she worked together as secretaries in that era. And that shit real. That's real. That happened. And so I was working at the liquor store one day, and a guy comes in and he goes, "Where's your name tag?" And I just made a joke of it, and I said, well, I'm so new, they didn't want to invest in one yet. They want to see if I'm going to last long enough. And he goes, "Well, I guess I'll just have to keep staring at your boobs, looking for it." And you know, I'm a cashier, right? So I'm like, well, I suppose if that's how you're so inclined, I can't really control where you look. Silence. He says, "Maybe I should shut up now." And I went, "Maybe." Anyway, then he leaves. Anyway, the manager overheard only part of that and said, "Hey, well, it seemed like you were handling yourself with that guy." So, and I was like, "Yeah, but the comment about my," and he was like, the reaction of, you know, the staff was like, "What?" You know, and just really wondering if I was okay. It was so nice to be cared for and valued in that way that, and then, but after that, everybody, you know, I had people checking in with me. "Are you okay?" It's like, I grew up in the 70s. That ain't nothing. Trust me. So, it's just so interesting, right? Like, I mean, I was dealing with seeing stuff, seeing things. I was shown things like, "Hey, look at this, what I got for you." When I was a child, by random people, it's happened on the subway, Toronto subway. It's happened on the bus. No, not on the bus. In the subway station, in the subway train. Someone passing on a bicycle. Hey, do you know where such and such is? Can you give me directions? You come over and they're in the car. Like, this was my childhood. So I'm like, yeah, some guy mentioning that he's staring. Yeah, I think I'm good. I was fine, and just times have changed, and Norma and my mom were secretaries. And I mean, now, look where society has come. Like, you can't put your foot in your mouth by making a really bad joke. You can lose your entire life, reputation, job, everything by, in some private setting, making a bad joke. And who knows what came before the joke. Like, maybe you just got fired, and so you make a bad joke about your boss. something that you maybe don't even really feel, but you're upset at the time, and you make, like a sarcastic comment. And then that becomes public now, and out of context and public, and you've lost everything. So it's amazing, and I don't know what's good and I don't know where the line is or where it should be, really. I have definitely said things that I don't actually mean at times, just because it'll be funny. Like sitting around with the girls just after, getting broken up with, I might have made, some sarcastic statements, but it doesn't reflect how I truly feel about relationships, love. Clearly, I'm a hopeless romantic, or a hopeful romantic, or men. Like I love men. I have had many male friends. I still do. And, men have a perspective that I really value, and a way of looking at things, and a way of thinking. And I think, it takes all kinds and to make the world go round, as they say, right? So I really appreciate, there's some things that men may more often do than women, that and likewise, like, it's just like if I do a really stupid thing while I'm driving and be like, I'm in touch with my feminine side. Do I really mean that? Do I really mean that all women can't drive? No. I'm just making a joke about a stereotype that exists. And it's a joke. Because anybody can make a stupid moment when they're driving. But if you happen to be female and you decide you want to make a joke about it, well, so what? Anyway, I think we have to try and maintain our sense of humor. Life is, without a few laughs, life can be pretty grim, right? There was problems through all those decades, right? And now we have AI that could make you look like you're saying something. Like, it's the way things have changed, and she's seen it all. So Norma, she's still up to date. She's still interacting with the world. She's still figuring it out, and she's 95 years old. So whatever that quality is, I know it's there, because I've seen it leave people, and then I've seen the rare person who gets into their later decades of life, and they still have it. It's rare to see it. But as my mom said about, my friend Dan, the joie de vivre, and Norma said that about losing the love of her life almost 30 years ago now. Unexpectedly. Went in for a routine procedure. Anyway, she was like devastated and absolutely just crushed, depressed for about 6 years. And she wrote to him every day. She had a stack of letters in a binder this thick and another stack. So I just write to him what I normally would talk about at the end of the day, like we used to talk all the time. What a wonderful relationship they had. Anyway, I said, how? Because she kind of shut down, but then she opened back up. And I was like, how did you do that? How? And she said, I don't know, but she said, I guess you really have to ask yourself, how important is living to you? How important is living? Like living your life. And she said, in time, you learn to live with your grief. She says it doesn't go away, but you learn to live with it. It's like, you know, someone else in the room. And you learn to accept each other. Maybe it's like an old married couple that don't really like each other. Like, maybe you don't really like your grief, but you tolerate each other. You learn to live alongside in some kind of shared inner space. Anyway, I wish I could get more of a sense of how or maybe I know how, or maybe I'm finding it out. And maybe I have to answer my own questions. And maybe doing this is helping. I think it is. And it is meaningful. And since I left real estate, and since I left mortgages, since I left the rat race, this lifestyle really has given me a lot of meaning and purpose. I just need to simplify a heck of a lot more, and I guess I can't really afford to have a life in two places anymore. I need to hunker down and get my together, or you know, as Tim used to say, get your poop in a group. If you're still here, thank you. Thank you for watching, and thank you to everyone who has subscribed and helping me support the channel, and I'd like it to grow someday. I'm leaving it open-ended. We'll see where it goes, and I suppose, you know, if this resonates with you, I'm so happy to hear that, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Take care and have a wonderful day, and I'll check back in when I know more. It sure is nice though to have some sun. Oh gosh. And there's the sparkles. The sparkles of the raindrops on the window, but they're starting to dry off already.